It was Halloween night of 2012, sophomore year in high school. I was out with my friends, Claire, Justin, and Maya. We had all decided on a spooky theme that year and dressed as characters from Tim Burton movies. I was Edward Scissorhands, mostly, because I already had the black clothes and could pull off the broody look. Claire was the corpse bride, Justin was Beetlejuice, and honestly too into it. And Maya was Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. She even stitched up fake scars with makeup. We lived in a woodsy town in Vermont, so our neighborhood was surrounded by thick forest and winding roads. There weren't many houses on each street, but we were determined to make the best of it. The air was cold, and fog hung low over the street, mixing with the smell of wet leaves and burning firewood from people's chimneys. We had been trick-or-treating for a couple of hours and were already tired. Some houses had stopped giving out candy, but we saw one up ahead still lit up with glowing orange lights and cobwebs. Hopeful, we approached and saw a sign that said, "Take one." The bowl was filled with full-size candy bars, but only one remained. Justin grabbed it and laughed like he'd just won the lottery. Just then, the porch light flickered and went out. We all froze for a second, but then we heard a slow, creaking sound. The door behind the candy bowl opened slightly, and a woman in her 60s stepped out. Her hair was long and grey, and she wore a shawl that looked homemade. She smiled politely, but said nothing. Then she motioned us to come inside. "We're good." "Thanks," Claire said quickly, trying to keep it casual. "I have more inside," the woman said softly. "And hot cider to warm you up. Come in, it's chilly." It was one of those moments where something just felt off. Her eyes didn't blink. Her smile didn't move. I caught Maya subtly tugging on my sleeve. We thanked her and walked away. She didn't say anything, just stood there watching as we turned back down the driveway. We nervously laughed it off and kept walking, trying to shake the weird feeling. We eventually made it to the edge of a small nature trail that cuts through the woods behind the neighborhood. It's usually fine in the daytime, but at night it's pitch black. And we only had Justin's phone flashlight. Halfway down the path, we heard footsteps behind us. We turned around. Nothing. Justin joked that it was probably a deer. We kept going, then Maya whispered, "Stop." We all did. The footsteps stopped too. This time, we all heard it. Claire spun around and aimed the flashlight toward the trees. The beam caught something, a shadow darting behind a trunk. The silence was thick now. No wind, no bugs, no rustling. Just that feeling when your body knows something's wrong before your brain catches up. We broke into a run. Branches snagged our costumes as we bolted down the trail, tripping over roots and rocks. The footsteps behind us got faster, more than one pair. Someone else was definitely back there. We made it to Claire's backyard, hopping the fence and running into her basement door. She slammed it shut and locked it, all of us breathing heavy. And wild dash, we turned off all the lights and peeked through the basement window. At first, nothing. Just the moonlight over the backyard. Then the motion sensor light clicked on. There was a figure standing at the edge of the woods, completely still, just watching the house, and then they slowly backed into the trees and disappeared. We told Claire's parents everything, but they thought it was just teenagers messing around. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But every Halloween since, none of us have walked past that trail again, not even in the daytime. Candy into each of our bags. It was great. Our next house was quite some hike away, but once again, the woman who answered was very friendly and gave a very generous amount of candy. After about 6 houses, our bags were starting to get heavy. But you have to realize, it took almost half an hour to hit those 6 houses. We reached the entrance of the dirt road, leading to smaller houses and trailer homes. The first 2 houses on this dirt road we tried didn't answer. So, we decided to try one more on this road before turning around to find another area. We reached the very appropriately eerie property of a smaller house along the dirt path. Whole front yard had an orange glow because of the 4 torches that were lit up leading to the front porch. There was an orange bowl on the stoop decorated with black silhouettes of witches, pumpkins, and other Halloween themes. Besides 2 stray Tootsie Rolls, the bowl was empty. There was a sign on the door that read, "If there is no more candy, enter the back at your own risk for more." Under that, there was an evil-looking smiley face, along with an arrow pointing to the backyard. Chris said, "Let's just turn around and go back." But Jordan and I wanted to go around back. It seemed interesting, as if they had something cool set up. Chris had no choice but to follow us around the house to the backyard, which was a small clearing from the miles of forest that surrounded. The backyard was lit up orange as well, but not as brightly. There was a single torch that sat in the middle of the small yard. It provided enough orange light to see a note on the back door. We got closer to the back door and read the note. It was some kind of riddle. It said, "If candy is what you desire, then you have to look closer to the fire." And yes, I still remember that stupid riddle to this day. So, of course, we assumed that by the fire meant by the torch. Chris was saying he did not like this, that it seemed too suspicious. I was kind of weirded out a bit, too, but Jordan seemed interested in it, and I didn't want to seem scared to him. Plus, it was the most interesting thing to happen all night in this boring town. There was nothing round the torch though. It was literally just dug into the center of the backyard. There was a small wooden shed by the corner of the clearing, and in the other corner were a bunch of tools and woods scattered across the grass. Jordan tried leading us closer to the woods, but I was with Chris now. I was pushing for Jordan to just leave now, as it was too weird and creepy to be looking for candy in a stranger's backyard. He kept telling me, hang on one more minute." While he was looking around, I started to examine the place. The house had an old, dirty look to it, surely a very low-income home. I started to examine the windows. One of them was cracked, the other had blinds closed. And then I looked up at the upstairs window. There was somebody looking down at us, specifically at me. When he or she noticed me, they moved away from the window and shut the blinds. I told Jordan we should go. I looked over to the window of the wooden shed. I could see someone poking their head out ever so slightly. I grabbed Jordan, yanking him over to follow me, but he was frozen still. He was looking up at the woods. I looked to see what he saw. There was a person coming out from the woods. Jordan was laughing, I guess. He thought it was supposed to be a part of this spooky setup. I watched with him until we saw the person come into light wearing a genuinely horrific mask. And there was something in his hand, a machete. Jordan still thought it was a joke. Even Chris seemed to be laughing a bit. Hell, I started to think it was all just a nice little Halloween setup, until the person wearing the mask charged at Jordan and swung the machete. Only he missed as Jordan backed up in time. We all sprinted back out front where we saw somebody blowing out the torches. He spotted us and started chasing us. We ran all the way down the dirt road, back down the paved road, and made it back. To my house, Jordan was throwing up. I'm not sure if it was because of running so much, or because of the fact that he almost lost his life. We told my parents right away. My dad called the police and asked them to come to the house. My dad then drove us to the house where it happened, with the police following us. By the time we got there, everything was gone. And by everything, I mean the notes, the torches, and the candy bucket. The house had been vacant for months. Nobody was living there. It was the perfect place to set up a murder scene. We requested the police go inside to check, as I did spot somebody spying on us from upstairs, but it turned out they were gone as well. We did the best we could to describe what happened and the people I saw. I believe one of the officers told my dad they would investigate further into this and thanked us for the info. Maybe you don't realize how sick this world is, full of insane, scary, messed up people until you actually come into encounter with them.